Hey everyone, welcome back to the Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori, and today I've got a fun little video. We're going to talk about a word that gets used all the time that we're all really excited about: circularity. It's the word that we kind of throw around hoping it will save us all from everything and sort of fix our sustainability issues. So our question today: circularity, real? Is it a myth? Is it even achievable? Let's dive in, have a quick look. All right, when it comes to circularity, there are a few different places you can go. I'll leave them down in the resources below. You can get a couple links to kind of learn more about how we're defining sustainability. Essentially, the idea of circularity is mimicking nature and eliminating waste, right? In nature, in a natural system, there is no waste. Nothing goes to waste, right? If something dies, if something falls, it goes back into the system and it just is circulated over and over, and it becomes a nutrient for something else. And that system stays healthy and alive and keeps thriving. And also in nature, there are no hazardous inputs, right? There's no hazardous waste. Nothing is being harmed. Everything is contributing and serving the other part. And so in that way, a circular system in nature is regenerative, right? It just continues to restore and build back. It's not until us humans come and put our impacts on it that things start to break down and we start to see the impacts that we have on ecosystems. And when we have an impact on ecosystems, that affects biodiversity, or flip it around, if we impact biodiversity, that's going to affect ecosystems. Affecting ecosystems will affect us humans. And I've got another video on that we just recorded talking about the importance of biodiversity. Have a look at that one. But for now, when we're talking about circularity, here are a few things to keep in mind. So before we dive in, think of it this way. The old way of doing business was based on what we call a linear economy. It's this idea of we extract from the planet, we make that into goods, we convert it, we use energy, we use other inputs, and we make the stuff that we need. And then we use that, and then ultimately after use, we send it to landfill. That's waste, right? So we have a linear economy that just goes take, make, use, dispose, right? Take, make, waste. Linear economy, it's an old way, it's done, it hasn't served us very well, and it's not very regenerative, right? It's not very helpful, it doesn't create positive goods. So now if we look on the flip side, a circular economy is after we have taken those resources, we've made them into something, well, what we need to do is keep them at their highest value and put a great emphasis on the value of those existing resources. We need to capture those existing resources and get them back into the system, keep them in the system, use them again over and over, right? In a circular economy, there are two waste streams: a biological waste stream and a technical waste stream. Theoretically, anything that we make should go and serve one of those. It should either go back into our natural system and create good and be an additive, or it should go back into the technical system so that it can be recycled and used over and over. So ultimately, this idea of taking our products when we're done with them at the end of their life, after consumer use, we call this post-consumer use, taking those goods, collecting them back, putting them back in as raw materials, and doing that over and over safely without hazardous chemicals. That also means that when we make things, we can't make them with hazardous chemicals because we don't want to be recycling a toxic, hazardous sludge. We also don't want to be harming people along the way. We don't want to be harming ecosystems. We don't want to be harming species. So we want to do everything we can. Of course, this is an ideal situation, but this is when we talk about circularity. A couple other points, and this is according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which I'm going to put their link down below. A circular economy is, I'm going to read this, underpinned by a transition to renewable energy and materials, and it's accelerated by digital innovation. A circular economy also decouples economic activity from the consumption of finite resources. Decoupling means that as your business grows like this, your impacts continue to do this and go down. The way we've been doing it is that our impacts are inextricably linked to our growth. So as businesses grow, our impacts grow, our emissions grow, and we need to get away from that. I get it. We want our businesses to grow, but how do we get it so our impact is going down? That's decoupling. And of course, you know what finite resources are. These are resources that are not renewable. They're not going to renew themselves in time for us to use them or for our future generations to also be able to do the business they need. That's the definition of sustainability that we refer to, according to the United Nations, Our Common Future report. I'll leave the link down to that below as well. But a circular economy, it's a resilient system that is good for business, people, and the environment. So ultimately, a circular economy is a resilient, distributed, diverse, and inclusive economic model. And it's a climate-friendly one. And to add, one thing to keep in mind, adding recycled inputs, which is good, it lowers our total environmental footprint, but adding recycled inputs does not make something circular, especially if we are pulling inputs from another industry. Plastic bottles put into our products, not circular. And just because we added recycled materials in there doesn't mean that that product is recyclable at the end. And if we are recycling something at the end and losing value and it's degrading, well, that's not circular either. Circularity is about keeping that material at its highest value and keeping that high value all along the way, using it over and over with all of those other benefits that we talked about. So have a look at some of the links down below, learn more about the circular economy. Be careful of how you talk about circularity. Make sure we're talking about the specific thing. And here's the other deal. When we're talking about sustainability, we need to make sure that it doesn't just sort of give us a hall pass to just purchase everything we want, because we also don't know what the effects yet of that circular economy will be. How will it be powered? What will we do with the waste? What kind of chemical inputs will it take? There are a lot of unanswered questions, and it's a systemic change that needs to happen. And we're years away from it. There are a lot of startups that are taking post-consumer goods and starting to break them down and using them as inputs again. We're already seeing it on the market, which is great. But we are years from scaling up and knowing that, or being in a place where brands know what to do. They know how to design for circularity. Retailers know what to do, how to sell for a circular economy. Customers know that they can bring their products back when they're done. There's an infrastructure there to collect those products. We can sort and identify the materials that were in those products, put them into their proper categories, and get them back to the makers again at that high value state so that they can use them as raw material inputs again. All of this so that we don't have to go mine and extract virgin resources and do that over and over. So you can see what the benefits would be, but hopefully you can also see how much work it's going to take. It's a systemic overhaul, but it's an exciting idea, and it's definitely something aspirational to keep in mind, and I want you to be aware of it and know about it. Read, if you haven't already, have a look at that video where I mentioned the 3 books that I make all of my students read. One of them is Cradle to Cradle. That is a great book that will really explain the idea of the circular economy and truly what we mean when we're talking about circularity. All right, I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned today what circularity is and got a sense of whether it's real, whether it's a myth, and what it will take to get there, if we can even get there. There's lots to answer, lots to address. If you like videos like this, be sure to click the subscribe button. I want you to follow along. I've got videos like this coming out all the time. And if you are on your learning journey for sustainability in the apparel industry, you've got to get the free PDF that we created, 35 things that you need to know on your way to becoming an expert or just learning everything that you can about sustainability in the apparel industry. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you at the next video.